The Middle East Institute at Georgia State University presents Arabic Grammar Unpacked. In this lesson, we will be discussing the imperative or command forms of verbs. In the lesson on the Mudari' Majzum, the present jussive, we learned to use the negative command. So in this sentence, La ta'kul fi dhalika al-mat'am, what we're saying is don't eat in that restaurant. It's very easy to tell someone not to do something in Arabic. We can say to a woman, La ta'mali masa al-arbi'a ya Zuhra. Hey Zuhra, don't work on Wednesday night. Here, because we're speaking to a woman, we have the E ending on the command form. Or if we're talking to a group of people, we could say, La tadhhabu ila al-maktaba ya shabab. Hey guys, don't go to the library. And here we're left with the long vowel waw and silent alif ending for a plural command. So telling somebody not to do something is really quite simple. As long as you can master the use of the Mudari' Majzum, the present jussive, you won't have any problem at all telling somebody not to do something. Telling somebody to do something, however, is a little more difficult. As a review, here's a look at the Mudari' Majzum, the present jussive, the third form of the present tense. Note that the short forms all end with sukun instead of fatha or dhamma, and the long forms all lose their noons. We'll concentrate on the second person forms of the Mudari' Majzum here, because in the imperative we're only using the second person forms. So we begin with the negative command. Again, here's a review of these sentences. All we have to do is put the particle la before the appropriate form of the Mudari' Majzum, and we have the negative command. La ta'kul fi dhalika al-mat'am. Don't eat in that restaurant. La ta'mali masa al-arbi'a ya Zuhra. Hey Zuhra, don't work on Wednesday night. La tadhhabu ila al-maktaba ya shabab. Hey guys, don't go to the library. So the negative command is very easy to do. The affirmative command is a little bit more complicated. So what we have to do is start with the Mudari' Majzum, the same form we used for the negative command. Now, the first thing we're going to do to form the affirmative command is simply to take off the ta in each form. So we're left for the anta form, for example, with amel, which is the command form. But now we're going to run into a little bit of a problem in that Arabic does not permit us to begin a word with two consecutive consonants with no vowel between them. If you look at the anta form, you'll see that we have ayn with sukun followed by mim. That's two consonants in a row with no vowel, and it's illegal in Arabic. In English, we can do this all the time. We can say stadium or brewery or something like that, and all these words begin with two consonants with no vowel between them. But in Arabic, like Spanish, we're not allowed to do this. This is why we say español for Spanish and not just español. Arabic does the same thing. We have to put a vowel sound before the word if we're going to make it legal as far as the rules of Arabic pronunciation go. So what we do to form the imperative, the positive imperative, is we add what's called a helping vowel. In this case, it happens to be kasra, and it's using alif as its chair. The alif is just there to provide a placeholder for the kasra. It's really the kasra we're concerned about. So we say i'mal for the anta form. We can't say amel, even though to an English speaker there's nothing odd sounding about that. In Arabic it simply doesn't work. So we say i'mal. If we're saying it to a woman, we say i'mali. If we're saying it to a group of people, we say i'malu. And I've left the dual and human-female plural forms in here purely for the sake of completeness. They're almost never used in the spoken language. Now the question is, which helping vowel to use? For the verb amila, we use kasra. But why? And the answer is, if the verb uses dhamma in the present tense, then we use dhamma as our helping vowel. Otherwise, we use kasra. I'll give you an example of each of the three kinds of verbs. So the verb amila, in the present tense, we get la ta'mal with a fatha. So la ta'mal is the negative imperative, don't work. Then our next step is to take off the ta, and we're left with amel. Now, amel uses fatha in the present tense, so since it doesn't use dhamma, we're going to use kasra as our helping vowel, and we're left with i'mal. For the verb jalasa, in the present tense, it uses kasra, la tajlis, don't sit. We take off the ta, and we're left with jlis. Since it doesn't use dhamma in the present tense, we use kasra as our helping vowel, ijlis. But kataba, on the other hand, When we put it in the present tense, it uses dhamma. La taktub, don't write. When we take off the ta, we're left with ktub. And so because it uses dhamma in the present tense, we use dhamma as our helping vowel. Uktub is the command for write. Once you learn to form the command, using it is really quite simple. It works just like it does in English. It's just that forming it is a little bit tricky. So we could say, Ifham hadha dars, ya Khalid. Hey, Khalid, understand this lesson. Because the verb fahima uses fatha in the present tense, it doesn't use dhamma, so we use kasra as our helping vowel, ifham. If we're talking to Zahra here, we're saying, Uhduri as-saf ya Zahra. Hey Zahra, attend class. The verb hadara uses dhamma in the present tense, so we use dhamma as our helping vowel. Uhduri, and we've got the long e ending because we've borrowed this from the mudari' majzum form for anti. We're talking to a woman. If we're talking to a group of people, I can say, Ijlisu wa ihfadhu al-mufradat ya shabab. Hey guys, sit down and memorize the vocabulary. The verb jalasa uses kasra in the present tense, so we say ijlis. The verb hafidha uses fatha in the present tense, so because it doesn't use dhamma, we use kasra as our helping vowel. Ihfadhu al-mufradat ya shabab. The best way to get to learn to use the imperative is simply to practice it over and over again. Imagine walking down the street and telling all the various people you see to do certain things. If you use it, you'll be able to understand it very easily, but if you're not familiar with it, it's a little bit difficult to form. So again, take the mudari' majzum of the appropriate form, take off the ta, and then add back a helping vowel. If the verb uses dhamma in the present tense, dhamma is the helping vowel. Otherwise, it's kasra. It's really that simple.